Okay, hello and welcome to week 2, Advanced Leads and Headlines for Journalism M03, Advanced Digital Media Reporting and Writing. My name is Professor Kelsey Stewart at Moorpark College. So the first thing that we're going to do is compare international news coverage. We like to use the term above the fold to describe the most important news publications. These front pages, based on mobile phone devices, determine each publication's most important news. For this week, BBC and Al Jazeera have selected the coronavirus as the top feature news story to run above the fold. What do the headlines tell us about the suggested audience on these two publications? We have CNN on our left, depicting the picture of Kobe Bryant and his daughter after their helicopter crash, as well as Fox News depicting the updates on the impeachment. The front pages that feature an article obviously are set to engage their suggested or their expected audience. So let's start with advanced headlines. We are going to talk about how to arrange them in a way that boosts readership. Tips for advanced headlines. We have grab specific reader attention. You're going to do this by knowing your audience. Be specific with what they would want to read about. Invoke curiosity without over-promising. If you don't know the outcome, don't say it in the headline. Don't tell the reader to keep reading to find out either in a headline. If your headline is at risk for giving away the story, then the story probably wasn't much to begin with. Another tip for advanced headlines is to start simple. You want to make sure that you are able to answer who, what, when, where, why, or how, or which one you want to focus on. Answering those questions will set up a solid headline. If you're going to focus on elements of the story, for instance, is it a profile of a person? Then you would do a who story. Is it breaking news? Then it would be a what story. Another tip for advanced headlines is to flip the view. You want to tune into your audience. Rather than say, officials approve zero textbook costs, instead write from the affected audience. Students applaud the approval for zero textbook costs. Tips for advanced headlines. Tap into the message, tone, and word power. When we talk about word strength, we look for single words that do the work of 5 or 6, or 2 or 3 words that will do the work of 5 or 6. Remember that a headline is suggested at being no more than 6 words in order to get the point across. You want to make sure that you value the verb. Nouns often overshadow verbs as popular keywords, but verbs can power a headline with the click-through rate by making the headline more interesting. Ideally, think subject over verb. Tips for advanced headlines. Here's screenshot. Screenshot means the first image that comes to mind when you think of your story. Use that to craft a headline. As we finish up our advanced headline tips, we're going to talk about the next format in our news story, and that's our lead sentence. When we talk about leads, we want to talk about advanced structures, and that will encourage just a different type of news writing than just listing out or letting the audience kind of get awareness of what is happening. For advanced leads, 5 W's and H all in one is an option. Which is the most vital, though, to your readers? When you want to talk about advanced structure, you can leave out one of those in the headline as well as the lead in order to further engage the readers. You want to make sure that your leads are 25 to 40 words or less. You don't want them to be too lengthy. You want to keep it simple. We want zero clutter, so focus on clarity and don't have excessive scene layout. So we don't want to over dramatize the scene that we're setting. You want to make sure that you are concise in your descriptions. This is not a drafting of your novel, so a dark and stormy night will not suffice as a lead for your story. Rather focusing on setting the scene with adjectives, seek out to bring in verbs and subjects of the story. Verbs, again, are action and give off a sense of happening now, whereas subjects help to further along the story with keyword optimization, helping to pull the story higher up on organic search. Leads will often be attributed to the headlines as well, depending on the format of the publication, and they could pull up as organic search too. So tips for advanced leads, we have 0 to B. All leads are in active voice unless it's crime coverage. You also want to make sure, an example would be 9 people were killed Sunday in a helicopter crash. Make sure that the lead delivers what it promises. So we would want to know more about the 9 people killed on Sunday. Understanding the context. How many times has this story been covered by the media? Kobe Bryant's horrific crash with his daughter, that was covered a ton on a ton of different platforms and publications. So we want to make sure that when we release a headline, it has a unique spin to it, but it also has the same subjects in order to tie in the equivalency of the keyword research. Types of leads. Straight lead. This is also called a hard news lead, is a brief summary, an all-in-one approach. Rather than leaving out a 5 W's or an H, you're going to give them everything because the information is not lacking. It's just the fullness of the story that they would like to hear. An example would be Trump's attorneys hint they will invoke executive privilege to block Bolton testimony. So we want to see exactly the details as we read that story, how that happened. The anecdotal lead is another type of lead. It's a quick but relevant story to draw in a reader and helps to enhance the story focus. Connection must be explained, though, in the lead. So an example would be Hong Kong is suspending high-speed rail service and cutting flights by half as infections exceed 4,500. We are seeing that the story of the transportation service being cut in half as in regards to trains and flights, and we're seeing infections at almost 5,000. Those two tie in as they're trying to corral the infection, and we'll see how that works and what their plans are for that as we read the story. Okay, types of leads. Scene setting lead. This describes a physical location because its relevance to the story. The man accused of shooting 2 on-duty New York Police Department officers in separate incidents in the Bronx over the weekend told investigators he did it because he was tired of police, prosecutors said. The Wall Street Journal released this article and gave a lead that kind of sets the scene and describes not only the physical location, but also probably one of their top quotes. It sets the scene and delivers what they want in order to grab their readers to read further. We have the first-person lead. The first-person lead describes a journalist's personal experience with the topic. It is only used when there is a valuable perspective. An example would be the Acorn reporter, Don McGlee, giving the LA Times an opinion on how the borderline massacre and last year's fires changed Thousand Oaks, and me as a reporter. So she's using a personal pronoun because it's coming from her experience. These are used only in typically op-eds situations. Observational lead is another type of lead, the authoritative observation about a story and how it fits in with the larger picture. You have to know the broader context of your subject matter if you're going to go with this type of lead. An example would be tax records and literary criticism are strange bedfellows, but over the weekend, the two combined and brought into the world, this is where you would know the broader context, a literary controversy. Call it the Ferrante Furor of 2016. So this is an example of using two historical or relevancies to determine a lead that would bring in two kind of opposite trends or happenings. Another lead, we have the zinger lead. This is dramatic, attention-grabbing with facts to back it up. Think of breaking news. This is an example would think when it just happened, it is just being released, usually mass tragedy of some kind, but this news outlet that you're working for is one of the first to release it. That's when you'd use a zinger lead. A question lead asks a question that is answered directly after. This is to provide ample context of the lead. An example of this would be, is Trump's new budget proposal able to fix our debt crisis? The next sentence would highlight the proposed cuts and allow for the reader to understand how the budget would level out debt. Okay, that seems to be it for our advanced headlines and advanced leads discussion. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. All right, thank you.